Hey everybody, it's Eric, 80s Horror Man here, and welcome to day 26 for my 31 Days of Horror. Today I'll be doing a horror movie that was done in 1996, and this is like one of the most popular horror movies when it came out in that era. And this is a movie that was done by Wes Craven because was it when Wes Craven was doing other horror movies before he did this one, they weren't really much of a hit, but when this one came around, this became like a mega hit and it managed to inspire like sequels. And the movie I'm talking about is Scream. Now, Scream, this is definitely one of the most recognizable horror movies of the mid 90s that everybody is familiar with, especially horror fans. And you have like a very recognizable cast that was just getting started. Like you got David Arquette, Nev Campbell, who was on that TV show Party of Five, Courtney Cox, who's known for being on that TV show Friends. You also have Skeet Ulrich, Matthew Lillard, Jamie Kennedy, and Drew Barrymore. And I mean, when you see that Drew Barrymore is actually in this movie, you're thinking, I wonder what part that she's got. And it turns out she's only in this movie for about 10 minutes, and that's because that iconic opening scene that she's only in that part for about 10 minutes. And then when something happens to her, then basically it's just like all bets are off because you're trying to think, okay, who's the killer and who's going around doing all this? So you got that iconic moment, and you definitely got the final or scene in the kitchen. That's like the most recognizable scene in the movie as well. So basically, this movie is about a killer who ends up calling his victims and ends up playing a little game, like quizzing them, asking them horror trivia questions, see how well they know about the horror movies, like asking them like, "What's your favorite scary movie?" And if they know the answer to that certain question of that trivia, they're fine. But if they don't, they're dead. So that's basically the synopsis of this movie. So now the killer is like after Sidney Prescott because she ended up escaping from his clutches, and now she's like trying to survive against this killer. Once the killer managed to finally catch up to her and everything. So that's pretty much the synopsis of this movie. But this movie was just fun, and it's just a complete blast. The rest of the sequels are good too. I definitely enjoyed the sequels, and if you watch the one of the panel discussions for this movie, you hear the characters talk about that they end up improvising on some of the scenes, like the very last scene in the kitchen, saying that how when the killer was supposed to throw the phone, but with the corn syrup being so sticky, he was supposed to throw the phone and intentionally hit the other killer in the back of the head, and that's when they decided to keep that in the scene when the killer said, "You hit me in the head with a phone, dick." So that was not in the script. They improvised it and they decided to keep that in the movie. Yeah, so I think it was actually a good touch. But especially like when and the killer comes out of the closet and stabs one of the characters in the shoulder. Apparently, when that part was supposed to happen, that killer was supposed to come out and stab that person in the shoulder and get the pad, but completely missed the pad and got that person right squarely in the shoulder because was it one of the characters said that he had open heart surgery since he was 12. So, or that was like excruciating pain right there when that killer completely missed the pad and got that person squarely right there in the left shoulder when that killer came out of the closet with the umbrella. So those are just fun facts for those who's watching who's never actually watched the panel discussions or Q&As on this movie. So Scream, this was like the movie that kind of like started making the horror genre start to rise up again in the mid 90s. But then when they started to come out with like other horror movies, like later on in the 90s, that's when the horror movies just started to drop. So if you watch that documentary, Going to Pieces, The Rise and Fall of the Slasher Movies, you know what I'm talking about. How the horror movies became so popular in the 80s and then it kind of started to fall. But when Scream came around, it kind of brought the horror genre back up. But then when they started to come up with some more horror movies, that's when it started to drop again. So, Scream from 1996, Highly recommend checking out for those who hasn't seen it, but if you have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It does have special features as well. It's got audio commentary with the director Wes Craven and writer Kevin Williamson, production featurette, behind the scenes, on the Scream set, and Drew Barrymore, Q&A with the cast and crew, theatrical trailer, TV spots, and that's it for the special features. Again, Scream from 1996. Highly recommend checking out for those who hasn't seen it, but if you have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Alright guys, so that's it for day 26 for my 31 Days of Horror. What did you guys think? Have you seen this movie before? Which basically I'm sure everyone has. If not, check it out. Also, what did you think of the sequels? Did you like the sequels? Was it if so, did you like all the sequels, or do you have like your favorite Scream of all that you liked so far? Also, like and subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for some more videos. Later.